suspense. Nigga, where am I going? Drop the four with my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going? Nigga, I'm in deep like the ocean. I've been in my bag, everybody around me, I'm ghosting. Where am I going? Drop the four in my cup, now I'm floating. I can't feel a thing, to be real, I just go through the motions. Where am I going?
And welcome back to another episode of HardFoul Radio. This is the show that values time and puts God first. Appreciate you guys for joining me today. It is a wonderful Friday. Thank you for making it part of your day. Let's get into it. The power of conviction. Very few things are more important than this. Look, no matter what you're doing in life, whether it is you're a general manager of a sports team, you are your job, whatever you're doing, you have to have conviction, not just really for your job, but just in life in general. You have to believe what you're doing is correct because it's the only way you're truly going to follow through. People without conviction about what they are doing, they're going to be wishy-washy. They're going to be sometimes in, sometimes out. They're not going to fully grasp the entirety of what it is they're trying to do. Why do I say that? The two best quarterbacks in the NFL are a matter of conviction. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson. Josh Allen, I saw this yesterday and I thought it was interesting. Dominique Foxworth talked about Josh Allen messed a lot of NFL GMs up. That he could be bad his first couple years in the league and then turn into the best quarterback in football. That just doesn't happen very often. Guys, you normally see it within their first year or so. Are they going to be that guy or are they not? Holding out for someone to be Josh Allen is a really risky game. And that's true. But the Bills having the conviction to go, you know what? This guy right here, we believe in him. We think he can be great. We don't care if he's under 50% completion as a rookie. We don't care if he is this roller coaster, sometimes great, sometimes horrible quarterback his first couple years in the league. We believe the guy who, if we build a team around him, the guy who's 6'5", can run, has a rocket arm, every potential physical tool you could ever want in an NFL quarterback, we have the conviction this guy, he's going to be great. And they stuck with him, and they are rewarded with him as one of the best quarterbacks in the National Football League and one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Lamar Jackson, who in my opinion is the best quarterback in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens had the conviction to go, you know what? We know what every single person is going to say about this style of quarterback. He's not a pure thrower, especially coming out of Louisville. Not a pure thrower. He's too small to run and take hits. Someone's going to knock him out. And the Ravens said, don't worry, that's our guy. We're going to take him. And not only is he going to turn into one of the best passers in NFL history, by the way, Lamar Jackson, the all-time leader in passer rating as things stand today. We know he can run. He's the all-time leading rusher for a quarterback in NFL history. We are going to change the direction of our franchise, a dominant defensive franchise throughout their history. And they're going to go, you know what? We're going to have an offensive identity behind the best player in the game. If you look at teams that don't have conviction, the Cleveland Browns, how are they doing? Not so great, are they? When you know in your heart that, hey, not only am I going to take a quote unquote, because then when you have conviction, you don't mind if you are taking a risk or if you're doing a sure thing. The Eagles have conviction. We have the best offensive line. We like our quarterback. We're going to go sign Saquon Barkley. We believe this is going to work. The Giants didn't want him. And he was in-house. He was ready to re-sign with the Giants. And the Giants were like, we're not sure. Wishy-washy, undecisive. The Eagles, conviction, quickness, decisiveness. Who's the best player on defense for the Philadelphia Eagles? Jalen Carter. Everybody wanted to stay away from him. Not sure if he's going to be able to fit in with the locker room. Not sure how he's going to be character-wise in the NFL. The Eagles, they had conviction that, hey, if we get him in our locker room and our program, and Jalen Carter still he does things that you would be called questionable, is putting it nicely. But they had conviction that, hey, look, we get this guy, we get our guy, it's going to work. The Dallas Cowboys doc from a few weeks ago. Young Jerry Jones had conviction when he made moves. I want to go get Deion Sanders. I want to go get Michael Irvin. I want to go get Emmitt Smith. I want to go get Charles Haley, the pass rusher. There was conviction. There was decisiveness. And if you don't have that, nothing you do is going to be successful, because you're always going to be second-guessing yourself or unsure, questioning, is this the right move? If you have conviction, that's how you get Josh Allen. Doesn't look great his first couple of years, turns into one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. Lamar Jackson. Nobody wants to take the chance. They think he's just another college running quarterback. Now the best quarterback in the NFL, the all-time leader in passer rating, the all-time leader in rushing. The Philadelphia Eagles, the best roster consensus in the NFL. You go get Saquon Barkley, teams weren't sure about. You go get Jalen Carter, teams weren't sure about. You have conviction. You know what you want. You know what you want to do. To be able to pull the trigger on these things, if you don't have conviction, you're not going to. And I understand it's tough, especially in sports. Is my owner going to like it? Is my coach going to like it? You got to know, boom, boom, boom. The Broncos turnaround. Sean Payton's one of the things, he knows what he wants. He knows what it looks like. Russell Wilson, sorry, thought it could look like you. It don't look like you. I have the conviction that, hey, this isn't going to work. We're going to separate. We're going to eat the dead cap hit. Conviction. Who's the, again, you can argue talent. Who has been the second most successful quarterback from that rookie class from a year ago? It's Bo, and it's not particularly close. Jaden, we understand. Jaden's in the class by himself. Great, got to the NFC Championship game. Nobody else likes Bo Nix except Sean Payton. Sean Payton had the conviction to go, that's my guy. I want him. Gets Denver to the playoffs. You have to have conviction in sports. You have to have conviction in life. Moving on to the other part of that game. I've talked a lot about when we're not always the best at judging. When you're at your peak and when you're at the high point of success, everything's great. Everything's great. Everyone's telling you how smart you are. Everyone's telling you how great you are. Everyone's telling you how you're this, that, and the third. But then what happens when that stops or it slows down? Well, the reality is that's what the Miami Dolphins, the other team. So I just talked about the Bills having conviction on Josh Allen and how that paid off for them. The Miami Dolphins, a team with less conviction, a team with less success. It's had to deal with Brady for 20 plus years, and now had to deal with Josh Allen for this last 5-6 years in his prime. The Dolphins 2 years ago scored 70 points against my Broncos. Very dark, dark day. But have you seen those two teams since that 70-point game? Denver has a winning record. Miami has a losing record. At the end of that game, in that week following, Tua was better than Justin Herbert. Mike McDaniels was an offensive genius. The Dolphins had speed and playmakers everywhere. Look at how amazing this looks. Oh my gosh. They even feel like Miami. They're fast, they're fun, they're flashy. They scored 70 points in an NFL professional football game. Then they lose a cold playoff game. Tua gets paid, but still looks like he is a product of the system at best. Mike McDaniel went from genius to, has he lost the locker room? And I don't think that's 100% fair because those guys did compete last night, and so I don't think he's quite lost the locker room, but look at the direction he's been since that 70-point game, under 500. Again, we do not do a good job of judging you while you're at the top or while you're in your best, because I don't think anybody could have said with a straight face that Monday after that 70-point game, hey man, Mike, enjoy it now because this is it. This is your high point. 70-point game. You are now going to be an under 500 coach and quarterback the remainder of your tenure. And I understand Tua got hurt, but the reality is with Tua, you kind of have to just bake injuries in. He's had multiple of them. They're all head related. It's unfortunate, 1,000%. But at some point, your reality is your reality, and Tua is an injury-prone player at the quarterback position. He is a small quarterback playing a violent game. So, the Miami Dolphins, again, just 2 years ago, scoring 70 points in an NFL game, and then since then, it's a struggle. And nobody has been hurt more. And think about this. Before last year, the NFL came out and said, hey, we're going to start cracking down on these motion penalties. And the Dolphins, the Rams, and the Niners, no one ran more motion than them. Guys just going all over the place, run all over the place. And it was the idea, the principle was guys are essentially turning illegal formations because they're starting running before it almost feels like arena football. Before the play is snapped, because you have to get yourself semi-set and only one guy can be in motion, X's and O's, et cetera, et cetera. The Dolphins, since that, their offense, which was high-flying, scoring all these points, innovative, creative, it's a little less creative, a little less innovative, a little less explosive. The Rams and the 49ers, now the 49ers, Brock Purdy, yes, he also got hurt, and you can see their points per game has solely dictated on when he's there and when he's not. But Kyle Shanahan just got Mac Jones. Just had Mac Jones throw 3 touchdowns. Sean McVay, his offense still keeps it going, gets to the playoffs, almost beats the Eagles. The Dolphins were the other team in there that was this really high-motioning team along with the Rams and 49ers. Doesn't look as explosive, doesn't look as innovative, doesn't look as creative. Again, your high point, 70 points, you're on top of the world. And that can come crashing down real quick. We are not good at judging people at their high points. Oh man, a lot more to talk about. This is a wonderful Friday. Appreciate you guys as always. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back 5 minutes. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. So, quarterback injuries are always going to be a part of the game. Football is violent. You're getting hit by grown men going 300 plus pounds, running at you full speed. Injuries are going to happen. I think what we're starting to see more of, though, is like, take this week, for example. Jaden Daniels potentially is going to miss the game. Brock Purdy's going to miss the game. Excuse me. Like, Joe Burrow, we know, is pretty much out for the season. Like, there's a lot of guys. J.J. McCarthy's going to be out here for a couple weeks. The more, and I talked about this earlier in the week, the more guys, everybody copies, right? It's a copycat league. Guys copy guys that they look up to stylistically. The more that the NFL, the top guys, the Mahomes, the Allen, the Lamars, do these things that are otherworldly in terms of breaking away from defenders, not getting sacked, running around, these things that are truly unique and what make them special. And the more guys try to do that, even guys who aren't as talented, guys who are more limited, that's going to get people hurt. Like, you're no longer just in the pocket and guys are running for you. If you allow yourself, and this is, I'll use something for somebody who I disagree with vehemently, but has a good point here. Nick Wright talks about he doesn't like the fact Mahomes has been running so much the first 2 games of the season because he knows eventually that leads to injury because quarterbacks are not bigger than defensive linemen. They're not bigger than linebackers. They're not bigger than the guys in the secondary. And so eventually one of those guys are going to hit you and you're going to go down. And I know the response is, well, Joe Burrow's not a mobile guy. No, but Joe Burrow's not mobile in the sense of how Mahomes or Lamar or Allen is. But Joe Burrow is mobile in the sense that Brady used to be, Brett Favre used to do this a lot, where guys who, or Big Ben used to do this a lot, guys who move around in the pocket and are just going left to right. They're not going north and south. And they're trying to extend plays to still throw the ball downfield. Like the guy who injured Joe Burrow, I know everybody, and again, the Cincinnati Bengals do not have a good offensive line. The guy who injured Joe Burrow, not intentionally, hit him while he was on the ground. So he was already blocked, was already on the ground, but because Joe was trying to make a play, trying to extend a play, he got hit by a pass rusher who was essentially, by all accounts, already taken out of the play because he was on the ground pushed down by his offensive line. So these guys who are trying to extend the plays, and it looks great when it looks great. But eventually, someone's going to hit you, and quarterbacks take hits the worst of any position on the field besides a kicker. Like if you saw the game last night, the punter got roughed the punter, and he was so ashamed that he was touched. It's like, punters aren't real football players, man, but that's a different thing. So, again, it looks amazing when Mahomes goes out there and runs around, and it looks amazing when Lamar does things that are just, it's very Steph Curry-like in terms of three-point shot. When Lamar runs 15 yards behind the line of scrimmage, avoids guys, and still turns into a 10-yard gain, that's like Steph taking a 40-footer that would have got you a bench 10 years ago, and it was normal for him. Lamar does stuff that is just absolutely incredible. Josh Allen, similarly, when he's running around, he's making these plays and they look amazing, and they're great, and they've been such a explosive part of the game that when we see them, we're like, oh my gosh, how incredible. And other guys want to emulate that. But other guys can't do that. They don't have Lamar's speed. They really just don't have the talent of Lamar, Allen, and Mahomes. And I think we're going to start seeing more and more injuries. Even a guy like Brock Purdy, who is the reason why he was the last pick in the draft. And I don't want to, people think I'm overly critical of Brock Purdy. The reason why he's last pick in the draft is because he doesn't have, first and foremost, the physical skills or the physical tools to be that. I think if you're a Charger fan, I think the idea, because Herbert's running around a lot more these first 2 games, it looks great when it looks great. And when he's breaking out of the pocket and he's making these third down runs against the Chiefs, and yes, he's sliding, it looks awesome. You also don't want your quarterback in danger. It's why it's the only position on either side of the ball that we literally protect at all. It has people on the field to protect them, as well as rules to protect them. Because nobody wants them getting hit. They're too valuable to the sport. They're too valuable to the game. They're too valuable to their teams. So as you see more and more of these injuries, again, we're in the era of the like mobile, running, agile quarterback. But then we also have to just accept that means we're probably also in the age of the injury for quarterbacks. Oh, man. Picks just in coming up after the break. And we are back. This is HardFoul Radio, top of the hour. Appreciate everybody as always. So, could the Chiefs really go 0-3? Take away my level of hatred for any AFC West team. The answer is yes, but hear me out. These are two different questions in my opinion, but because of how media works, and I get it, We don't want to view them as two different questions. Could the Chiefs go 0-3? Absolutely. Is it likely? I think is the question we really have to ask ourselves. The conditions in which the Chiefs should go 0-3 revolve around A, them still not playing very well on offense, which I think is absolutely feasible to happen again. Even if Xavier Worthy comes back, I will be the skeptic on Xavier Worthy until proven otherwise. I know he had a couple of good playoff games. I don't really count the Super Bowl because that game was already out of hand. But I will be the long-term skeptic on Xavier Worthy on if he's truly a dynamic receiver that makes an impact. And I'm okay with that. The Giants need two things to be true. A, they need their defense, which is played under the expectation coming into the season, to play better. They need to be able to generate a pass rush on Mahomes. They need to be able to play better in the secondary. The pass rush specifically has to be much better than it's been because it has been underwhelming for what we thought they would be coming into the season. That being said, the Giants also need their offense to be just as good as it's been the first 2 weeks, which last week, now you could argue week 1 was horrible, week 2 was great, and so maybe it mixes out, so they're just an okay offense. But they need shades of what they got last week, which is better than what we projected them coming into the season. So they need both. They need their defense to be what we thought it was, and we need their offense to continue to be better than we thought it was. And that's how you beat the Chiefs, if you're the Giants. The Chiefs really need to figure out, can we stop beating ourselves? Now, normally with well-coached football teams, and Andy Reid is obviously one of the greatest head coaches in the history of the sport, you don't beat yourself very often. You're not really concerned about, bad teams, bad coaches, they beat themselves. But Travis Kelce running into Xavier Worthy week 1, Mahomes some missed throws, some penalties, especially on the offensive line, which Juwan Taylor, it's always been an issue. Josh Simmons, while he's blocked very well, he's had a couple penalties. You can't be a great team and beat yourself. And you've got to connect on the easy stuff. Mahomes has outright overthrown several people, which has cost them big plays. Again, Kelce running into guys, penalties on the offensive line. The defense, while I understand Chris Jones, who is a historically great player, him trying to make a play on his own, breaking away from the scheme, is totally valid, but then you better connect. And so when you break away from the scheme and they beat you on the outside with a Justin Herbert run, or the team has to be better. And the defense was better against Philadelphia, to their credit. But offensively, this team's to be better. I talked yesterday where Andy Reid needs to be more clever because he is this offensive genius. At some point, we've talked about Mahomes and his shortcomings, talked about Kelce and his shortcomings. I need to see something from Andy Reid here. For this season specifically, obviously Andy Reid's career and his legacy is certified and all of that, but got alarms going off. And so this is not could Andy Reid lose his job type of deal, obviously, but it is for this season to not go 0-3. Andy Reid's got to show me something. He's got to have one of those game plans. He's got to have one of those weeks of practice where, hey, we're going to show everybody why we are still the Kansas City Chiefs. Otherwise, yes, 0-3 is 1,000% on the board. Is it likely? No. But 0-3 is 1,000% on the board for the Kansas City Chiefs. We just have to be honest. Again, are they the better team in this game? Yes, 1,000%. Am I betting this game? Not even a chance. I would stay away from it like the plague. But the idea that they can't lose this game, the Chiefs have entered this weird status of, could they lose any game? Yeah, 1,000%. They are no longer a dynamite or a dominant offensive team, and their defense is really good and situationally makes great plays. But we saw all those one scoring. It was like, this is my issue last year. Because Chiefs fans are like, well, we just keep winning. We just keep winning. But you also put yourself in yes, you did make the play to win the game. And a bunch last year going 15-2. You also put yourself in a position to lose a lot of games. And isn't it funny that you win 12 one-score games last year and you start off this season losing 2 of them? Not everybody's going to dog race the Chiefs or boat race the Chiefs like the Eagles did in the Super Bowl. I agree. The Eagles are a great team. We were probably even better last year. That's not the way the Chiefs lose. But as many times as you quote-unquote won the game, pulled it out, did this, you're so clutch, all that stuff, you started the season off losing 2 games. That means something. That absolutely means something. So, picks just in. Now, listen up. We had a really bad week last week. No way of hands or buts. We went 1-4. And so going 1-4 means you got to have a bounce back week. You got to. You got to do it. There's no excuses. And so, just can't see me. Oh, that's why you can't see me. There we go. Now we can see me. So we got to have a better week this week. And let's break it down. Picks just in. Tony went 4-1 last week. I went 1-4 last week. Hey, man, it is what it is. You know, sometimes you're there, sometimes you're not. And I also, as a new rule, and I used to do this where I said, look, I will not bet on Denver because I can't pull myself emotionally away from them. And then the more I thought about that, that's a dumb rule. Being able to truly analyze Bronco games is I'm going to keep a separate record of how well I'm doing during the season and a separate record of how well I'm doing on Denver, because I think there is actually a skill that is built up betting these. As always, please bet responsibly. Don't gamble with money that you don't have. And let's get started. Let's break it down. You guys can see them all here. Titans plus 4.5 versus the Colts. Now, I took a lot of home teams. Just be very clear. I took a lot of home teams. So 3 of my 5 are home teams. Here's the thing. The Titans are better, and you're going to hear this a lot throughout this whole week. This is kind of my theme for the week. The Titans are better than what they've shown. Cam Ward, we've seen the flashes, we've seen the plays. I think Simmons and this defense is better than how they've shown. And I also think the Colts are worse than they've played. Like, I know the Colts are 3-0, and they haven't punted, and they're setting all these offensive records, or 2-0, I'm sorry, not 3-0, and they're setting all these offensive records. If I had to make a side bet, and they won't let you do this, but you make a side bet that goes, who is most likely to turn into the 2024 New Orleans Saints? It's 1,000% the Colts. Look, Daniel Jones, there's a real story here, and that is, and if they get to 3-0, we'll talk about it next week. Is Daniel Jones Sam Darnold of last year, who we all waited to fall off, and they ended up with a 14-win season, and you know, we ended up getting Sam a $100 million contract? Or is he more realistically, in my opinion, Derek Carr and the Saints, which is a great 2 weeks. I think this game's going to be ugly, which, remember, last week, what did it go downhill for the Saints? They played an ugly game against the Philadelphia Eagles. Low-scoring game, Saquon hits the big run to end it. Not saying the Titans are the Philadelphia Eagles, obviously. But as soon as they weren't scoring 40 points a game, it just plummeted, caved in. And, yes, they did score against Denver. They also hit 5 field goals. So, like, they were moving the ball, still struggled in the red zone. Denver's able to get pressure on Daniel Jones. And you saw the old Daniel Jones making, there were some, I called them inaccurately accurate throws, like, because they kept bringing up these stats against PS2. And it was like he was throwing these weird passes where PS2 was on the guy, but he almost threw it so inaccurately that the receiver had to get the ball off the ground, which is an impossible place for the corner to get to it. Again, maybe that's the most accurate passer ever. I don't know. Maybe that's just who Daniel Jones is now. But I like the Titans here, plus 4.5. Even if they don't win, I think the Titans keep this game really close, and it feels like a field goal game. Eagles versus Rams. I tweeted this out yesterday, man. I think this is going to be a chain game. I think we're going to see Jalen Hurts. I think the Eagles, who are hearing all this stuff, we don't throw the ball deep. We're running the push more than 10-yard throws. Jalen Hurts doesn't have a passing touchdown through 2 weeks, but how are we 2-0? And it's very similar to how people were talking about the Chiefs last year. And you can say that's valid. And I would agree. Just the premise of how the Eagles are winning games is very similar to how the Chiefs were last year. The exception, in my opinion, is when the Chiefs were winning games like this last year, post the Rashee Rice injury, and Rashee Rice isn't as good as either of these two guys either. The Eagles have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, the best offensive line in football. Like, they have the offensive personnel. When they really need to do it, they can get it done. That, I think, is the biggest difference between them and what the Chiefs did last year. Obviously, the Chiefs had Mahomes, who's better than Jalen Hurts, but skill-wise, skill positions, offensive line, the Eagles are better at all of those. And the Rams, who are my Super Bowl pick, I think the Rams are going to the Super Bowl, and I think the Rams, this is one of those tough decisions. I pick the Rams to win the Super Bowl against the Ravens. It was a head pick, not so much my heart pick. Obviously, I'd have two other teams winning if it was my heart pick. But the Rams, who, for some reason, I don't know why, are we not allowed to talk negatively about the Rams? Now, I think Stafford's a top 5 QB. I think Sean McVay's a top 5 head coach. They also scored 14 points in week 1. Like, that game against Houston was not good. And so I don't think this offense is quite there yet. I understand Devontae, Puka Nacua, like, that presents its own set of problems, obviously. And Sean McVay, what he does scheme-wise with those guys. But the reality is this has not been a great offense yet. And I think the Eagles, they hear everything. They're going to play into it. Do they run the tush-push a bunch? Maybe not, because they're going to try to avoid the penalties. I just think they're practicing it in a way where, hey, look, if they're going to have a lot of eyes on us, for this week specifically, let's chill out. We won't run it as much. We'll make sure we line it correctly, blah, blah. Let's throw with Jalen, get AJ involved, get Devontae Smith involved. Jalen Carter, I think, is going to raise hell on this Rams offensive line. So I think all of that being taken into consideration, I like the Eagles a lot, -3.5. Next one, again, the theme of the day. I think the Panthers are a little bit better than what people think they are, and I think the Falcons are a little bit worse. Now, the Panthers did backdoor cover last week. Shout out to Tony. He got that one. He had a 4-1 week. Fuck him. I'm trying to get my record back up. The Panthers are better, I think. Maybe not a lot, but they are better than what they showed last week. And the Falcons really struggle with prosperity, man. Anytime you want to start thinking the Falcons are it, and I like Michael Penix, I like Robinson, we all like Drake London, like they have all this talent. But anytime in these last couple years, if you've been watching, if you are involved with sports betting or gambling at all, and you see how the Falcons, when you think they're going to be there, you think they're going to be really good, and then they just disappoint you. So I think this game I think the Falcons win, but this feels like we've had a couple of last-second field goal wins the first couple weeks of the season. This feels like a last-second field goal. It's a divisional game. The Falcons don't do well with prosperity. This offense still, and again, I like Penix. This offense kicked 5 field goals last week. Like, this is not a dynamic. I know they beat J.J. McCarthy, but it's like this was a lot of field goals against an offense that was struggling. This feels very similarly. I think the pass rush is going to be still good, but I don't think they necessarily, everyone's like, oh, well, they just fixed their pass rush in a year. I don't quite believe that's true. I think Bryce Young, again, teams that are 0-2, if I believe in your head coach and you're 0-2, and this might sound like a really weird rule, and Chiefs fans, if you want to believe this too, go for it. If you are 0-2 or in a desperate situation and you believe in your head coach, you should believe you are going to get one hell of a game plan. And I believe the Panthers and Dave Canales is going to give you one hell of a game plan. Again, I think the Falcons probably win this on a last-second field goal, but 5.5 is too much, so give me the Panthers with the points. Going down, Texans, Jaguars. Look, man, I said it on Monday, or Tuesday, I'm sorry. The Texans got to be better, and I believe they will be better. And in my core, I don't think they're better than, I don't think the Jaguars are better than the Texans. Sell your stock. I've done more than sell my stock. I have sold it, burned it, given it away to anyone who will listen. I have no Trevor Lawrence stock. I think what the expectation was of when he came into the league versus what he has produced, I just can't buy into it. I think CJ's better. I think D'Amico Ryans is the best. I get the best coach. I get the best quarterback. I still think I get the best team in this game, and I get the points. Anytime those factors line up, I believe wholeheartedly you have to take it. The Jaguars, who are starting to introduce Travis Hunter more defensively. I think that's going to be a bit of a struggle, especially because Tyson Campbell's their best corner, but Tyson Campbell's not a travel corner. And so if I see Nico Collins on Travis Hunter, as big of a fan as I am of Travis Hunter, I think that's an advantage, Texans. Again, I get better coach, better quarterback. I get the points. I don't care if it's in Jacksonville. I don't think Jacksonville is very good. Give me Houston Texans plus 1.5. And then, of course, and no, I don't just bet every game in Denver's favor. I promise you. But this one I am. And look, two things can be true. Not really two things can be true, but this is what's happening. The Chargers are getting all the love in the world. They beat the Chiefs. Oh my gosh, what a great win. Look how great Justin Herbert did. They beat the Raiders convincingly. Oh my gosh, look at how great the Chargers are. We're giving a lot of love. We're giving a lot of credit. Everyone's talking about them. They are the talk of the league. Justin Herbert's in MVP conversations. Jim Harbaugh's in Coach of the Year conversations. Everything we're talking about, Chargers. I don't think the Chargers are quite there. Remember, yes, their offensive line has played very well against two teams who I just don't think have a great pass rush. Chris Jones and Max Crosby are individually great pass rushers, but as far as team totality pass rushes, I don't think the Chiefs or Raiders have that. The Chiefs neither of them could get pressure at all without blitzing. That's not who they're playing this week. The Broncos have one of the best pass rushes in football. Garrett Bull, excuse me, Nick Bonito, Allen, Cooper, this is one of the best pass rushers in football. Now, Denver has struggled with covering tight ends and running backs. That's 1,000% true. Good thing is, that's not who's been productive for the Chargers. The Chargers have gotten great production out of the receivers, Quentin Johnston, Ladd McConkey. Keenan Allen's having a resurgent year for what we thought he was washed or done at the end of last year. Denver has the corners to match up with them. Again, the pass rush, this is not Oakland's pass rush, this is not Kansas City's pass rush. And then defensively, the Chargers, who have had a good pass rush, not great, obviously that's going to suffer now, no Khalil Mack. As well as for the offensive line pass rush stuff for the Chargers. Remember, Slater is out. I know the offensive line has played well. The lack of Rashawn Slater due to the injury, and that's obviously unfortunate, that will start to show up against some of these better pass rushing teams. And I would have the same logic if the Texans and Chargers were playing. You would see that Slater injury matter more when you have Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson running at you. So Denver, and then again, the Chargers pass rush has been just okay. Obviously no Khalil Mack because of an injury. That's going to be rough on them. Denver statistically has, again, for the second in a row, has the best pass blocking offensive line in the league. Bo Nix did not play well week 1, played much better week 2, 3 touchdowns. Again, and I know this game is in LA. We know how Charger home games go. This is essentially a faux home game for Denver. The fans will travel. Again, the Chargers, not as from where they stand now, the Chargers, similar to all these other teams I'm picking against, not quite as good as I think they're. And I think the Chargers are a playoff team. 1,000% are a playoff team. But they're not quite as good as they've been talked about or as we maybe have preceded them. And Denver, in my opinion, is better than what they've shown. Again, Denver could be 2-0. And Denver's loss is from a weird leverage penalty that, again, does not get called very often. Say what you want. I'm not here to blame the refs for why they lost. There's other opportunities they had in that game. And then I might be the only one who took week 1 as a pseudo win, because even though they turned the ball over a bunch, they still won that game, which to me is a sign of a great team. Again, I think this game is close, but I think at the end of the day, I think the Broncos go into LA, they get the win. I think the offense plays better, which it did last week. I think this defense and the pass rush gets after Justin Herbert, and we can take a deep breath, slow down. The Chargers are a good football team. They're a playoff level football team. They are not quite in the elite of the AFC when it comes to the Buffaloes and the Ravens, which I feel like a lot of people have started to put them after this 2-0 start. So, picks just in. Looks like a 5-0 week. I got to catch up to Tony, man. Again, we were 1-4 last week. We're not going to talk about it anymore. He was 4-1. We're going to catch up. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back. So, and I brought this up, and these are funny games to me each week. So last week we had Saints 49ers, right? Which not only was not a great game in totality, it was a game between Spencer Rattler and Mac Jones. And I joked that that game's going to do better numbers than some NBA or MLB playoff games. And shock, it did. The NFL is so far ahead of its competition. Again, Roger Goodell said before the season, look, we're not competing with the NBA. We're not competing with Major League Baseball. We're competing with Apple. We're competing with Google. We're competing with these other extremely large corporations who are just next level in comparison to the rest of the world. And it was wild to say, and it was kind of out of pocket, but it's absolutely true. So we're going to, as a running thread, joke, routine on this show, every Friday we're going to look for that game, right? And these are games I'll probably never bet on because they're so volatile in theory that I can never do it. Bengals at Vikings this week. That's right. Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. Oh, man. It speaks for itself. It writes itself. Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. Obviously, Joe Burrow, unfortunately, is out for the season. J.J. McCarthy's out for a few weeks. What are we doing, man? And this game, again, is going to do bigger numbers than other sports playoff games because it's football. And we are so football pilled and in love with the sport that we will take anything over nothing. And we are just going to go absolutely give me more backup quarterback versus backup quarterback. Carson Wentz is starting for his 6th different team in 6 years. That's a record. So we have that going for us. Jake Browning, to his credit, almost got the Bengals to the playoffs a couple years ago when he was hurt. And now to take over for Joe Burrow. This is how you don't judge somebody by their best, but if your floor is so high, those are truly the all-timers, whether it's in sports, business, life. Like, if your floor is so high, like the NFL can do ratings. Yes, the NFL obviously is going to do Cowboys, Eagles sets a record. Chiefs, Eagles sets a record. The Super Bowl is always going to do numbers because, like, those are the best teams, or the most famous teams, the most impactful teams. We all know that. But you got backups in here, and the backups are doing numbers, and the backups are going to have success, and the backups are going to help with you. Like, and I've said before, there's a lot of great quarterbacks in the NFL. There's also a lot of bad quarterback play on a week-to-week basis. And yet people don't seem to care. We just keep going back to the NFL. We just keep going back to football. We're going back to watching it. We don't care that there's bad football being played at the quarterback position. We just want to see football. Excuse me. And again, every week we're going to point out this game. Last week it was Saints-Niners, and I'm like, why are we here? How did we get here? This week it is Vikings-Bengals, and unfortunately, obviously, we got here due to injuries. This was supposed to be Joe Burrow versus J.J. McCarthy. It is now Jake Browning versus Carson Wentz. Wow. Just wow. Moving on to why would he say that? And we have a special edition because these are almost always reserved for media, personalities, but today we got a special one. And even though he played well, this really should have been yesterday, but we messed up yesterday's episode, so should have been yesterday, but we're bringing it back today. And even though he played well last night, Tua, why would you say that, man? Listen, I understand, and there's we need to be clear here. Players say that the media hates cliches. That is true. I'm sorry, no, that's not true. I apologize. Said that wrong. They don't hate cliches. They just understand cliches are a part of the business. We love honesty. If it feels like it's coming from a place of the, excuse me for being toxic here, the macho athlete, the manly athlete, the very bravado, overconfident athlete. Like, we love when a guy just goes, look, man, I'm going to mess him up. I'm just better. We love that. Because everybody says after a game, again, last night, Bills are like, man, that was a good game. We got to win. That's two good teams. We know that's not two good teams. And the Dolphins proved it because they played well, and you could tell they're just not as good as the Bills. If they were going to win that game, it was going to have to be because of the Bills messing up, who the Bills' entire game plan was very conservative. Let's not do anything to lose the game because we know we're just flat out better than them. Tua gets on the mic and goes, look, man, what do you want me to do? Josh Allen, he throws the ball better. He runs the ball better. I can't do half of that stuff. Like I said, we love honesty when it feels like it comes with this level of confidence and arrogance and let me show you why I'm great. Tua, what the fuck are you saying? This isn't like, and Tua, you're in a worse position here because not only, it's one thing if you want to say, look, man, Josh is a great quarterback. You see him when he throws the ball. You see him when he runs. Like, he's just an amazing quarterback, man. So we got our hands full today. Cool. Understandable. If you want to talk the way about Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, like the great quarterbacks, the guys who we know are great in this league, give them their props. Don't do it in comparison to you. Because how, even if you're a fan of that team, and fans are already delusional, fans are already insane, if you feel like that, how am I supposed to take that as a fan who's like, wait, so are we just screwed? Do we have no chance to win? You just can't do anything like Josh Allen? And again, this would be one thing if you just said, look, man, if you need the comparison part, it's like, look, I feel confident in my game and we do what we do. And, one of the things that he does that's unique to him is he's got this running ability that's probably just him and Lamar as far as how impactful it is. Okay, fine. I get that. That'd be a fair statement. You're not a running quarterback. Cool. You can't throw like him? What? You can't say this, especially when it's not even like you're a rookie or a second-year quarterback. You are a franchise quarterback, and if you're not playing great, who's paid $53 million a year. You make $2 million a year less than Josh Allen. And he's just out of your league? Out of your class? You can't do anything like him? You can get paid like him. So why can't you do the other stuff? And again, we all know you can't. No one is having the argument, who's better in 2025, Josh Allen or Tua Tagovailoa. We get that. Maybe this is why I don't want to put that on him. You can't say this if you're the franchise quarterback for an NFL team. Especially, you hit all three reasons why you can't do this. A, you're supposed to be the guy. You are paid like the guy. He is in your division. You have to see him 2 times a year, and you are basically conceding that I can't be as good as him. So, Dolphins fans, you might as well as write off every win of the division because I got to go against that guy, and I ain't as good as that guy. And you're not a young quarterback. It's not even like you could say, oh, well, I really, I've looked up to him for years. Like, if Drake May, who's going against Aaron Rodgers this weekend, if Drake May wanted to say, look, man, like, I love Aaron. I grew up watching Aaron. Like, he was so great. Like, the things he did are what I've always aspired to do. Fine. There's enough of an age gap. You're generationally 2 different quarterbacks. That was the guy you watched growing up. Cool, I could live with that. Drake May is also in his 2nd year, and Aaron Rodgers is in year 20. Maybe it's 21 now. He's 40. Dolphins fans, talk to me. It's a safe place. And again, Tua played fine last night. Like, it wasn't great, but you saw what they have to do on offense to move the ball. Tua can execute that. Not saying it was a great game. Not saying, oh my gosh, it was outstanding. I'm definitely not saying he was better than Josh Allen, because Lord knows he can't do that. He would tell you he can't do that. This is a bad look, man. This is a bad look. He's bigger than me. He's stronger than me. He's better than me. He throws the ball better than me. He's richer than me. He's got, like, what else did you need to say, Tua? What else could you say? Like, this guy's great. I suck. This guy's amazing. Look at me. I know I make $53 million, and he only makes $2 million more than me. Again, no one's having the conversation if you're better than Josh Allen. We all understand that. But remember we started off with the power of conviction? That was the theme of today's episode. I want my quarterback to be a little delusional. I do. You know who's the quarterback of my football team, my favorite football team? Is Bo Nix. Is Bo Nix more talented than, you could make an argument, half the guys in the NFL? No. He's clearly not the top guys. And if you want to go tier 2, I don't think he's as talented as a Jaden Daniels. Hell, take his draft class. I don't think he's as talented as Jaden. I don't think he's as talented as Caleb. I don't think he's as talented as Drake May. I don't think he's as talented, you can make the argument, as Michael Penix. I think him and JJ have more similarities as far as they probably need other factors to be good for them to be their best versions of themselves. Now, he's outproduced, and I think him and Sean Payton are a great combo. But just pure talent-wise, no, I don't think Bo is that level of guy. But I think Bo thinks he is, and that matters more. I think Bo absolutely has the unequivocal confidence that I am as good as anybody when I step on the field. He's going to play Justin Herbert this weekend. I don't think he's looking at Justin Herbert and going, man, that guy's great. He can run, he can throw, he's tall, look at him. I think Bo Nix steps on the field and goes, I'm going to be just as good. I believe we can win this game, and I believe I can be a huge factor in why we win this game. Even if it's a lie. Even if it's not true. You have to believe it. Brock Purdy, who I've been critical of Purdy. Last pick in the draft. Why are we the last pick in the draft? Well, it's because everybody else can look at you and go, you're not as big, you're not as strong, you don't throw quite like the other guys. You have limiting factors that prevent you from being the guy, quote unquote, in terms of a whole league landscape. He's obviously been the guy for San Francisco. But Brock Purdy, I 1,000% believes it. Brock Purdy 1,000% thinks that I am just as good as anybody else currently playing. I've been to the Super Bowl twice. Even if you don't believe it, even if you don't think it's true, he thinks it's true. And realistically, that's good enough. Him going, man, I could do it. I am the guy. I've got my credentials are what like making $53 million a year. And I'm not a guy who tries to criticize based on what you make. But in this situation, you can't be, again, I would excuse it if you were young watching one of the older quarterbacks. If you wanted to say, again, I brought up Drake May, Aaron Rodgers, even if Jalen Hurts this weekend wanted to say, look, man, Matthew Stafford's incredible. I've been watching this dude since I was like in middle school. Like I saw him with the Lions and him throwing to Calvin Johnson, and it was just, he has a special arm. Cool. You're generationally different. This is a bad look to it. And I don't normally criticize players for what they say in media sessions, but man, this was an all-time bad say. Why would he say that? Just someone help me out here, man. This is HardFoul Radio. We'll be back momentarily. And we are back to close out the show. Appreciate everybody for joining me today. So we have hit a new low point, weird point. I don't know how to explain this. So of all the videos I put out this week, and of all the videos I've ever put out, I don't think I've ever made it unclear that I do not like the Kansas City Chiefs. Just being straight up. I don't think anyone could take what I've said and be like, that guy right there, that's a Chiefs fan. He bleeds red. Okay. So I put out a video 2 days ago, and we talked about it to open the show. When can we start just questioning Andy Reid? We've questioned Mahomes. We've called Travis Kelce washed. I've questioned Chris Jones, the offensive line, the running back. Everybody has had shots taken at them during this less than dynamic part of the Chiefs. If you want to consider this still the dynasty, fine. I'm not here to argue that with you. So I just said, when can we start questioning Andy? Again, we're questioning a lot of people's greatest quarterback ever in Patrick Mahomes. When can we question the head coach? Just a question. Just a thought. When is that fair game? People took that, and on TikTok and Twitter, where the rationally and the morally inspired are just dwell and live. They said, it's an entitled fan base when they're going after Andy Reid. You guys aren't excited with you made it to the Super Bowl. That's not good enough for you? What? Is that directed towards me? The lifelong Chiefs hater? That's what you guys got out of that segment? Is that and maybe I'm doing something wrong, because we posted a clip a few weeks ago too, Tony talking about Bo Nix, and Tony does not like Bo Nix. Tony thinks very little of Bo Nix. Tony thinks Bo Nix is a system quarterback to every sense of the word. That without Sean Payton, he'd be the Kurt Warner in the grocery store, right? And Bronco Country started attacking me. It was like, man, look what he did. It was like all these things that I know because I'm a part of that fan base. I stopped arguing with people about Bo Nix because it just felt like, well, what are we doing? If, I care about, is he winning games? Does he look productive? How is he like? I care about that stuff. I don't really care if other people are like, well, I don't think Bo Nix is that good. All right, cool. You don't think Bo Nix is that good. Congrats. Have a blast. Not here to argue with you. So maybe I'm doing something wrong. So maybe I'm not actually as hateful towards the Chiefs as I should be, or I think that I am portraying. But I stand on this. If I can question the lack of statistical greatness from Patrick Mahomes, a Mount Rushmore level quarterback the last 2 years, if I can question their receiving core, if I can question one of the greatest tight ends to ever play the game in Travis Kelce, if I can question Chris Jones, a all-time great defensive player, the most noteworthy defensive player of a dynasty, why can't I question Andy? And again, I preface that by saying I questioned Bill Belichick when he still had Brady. But it was during the time the Patriots had this weird transition between the Moss years and the 2 tight end years where they were a really, really good offensive team, if not a great offensive team some of those years. And defensively, they were just okay. And I never understood, why are they both getting equal amounts of the credit if one's a defensive coach, but his defense is underperforming? Why does he get credit for the offense? Shouldn't they go to Tom and Josh McDaniels? And the same thing with the Chiefs. Andy's the offensive guy. He's the play caller. But this defense and Steve Spagnuolo, they're the ones who have been doing the heavy lifting the last 2 years. Am I crazy? I don't know, man. So I'll end today's show and head into the weekend with, fuck the Chiefs. I hope they're 0-3. I am ready to dance on their grave if they go 0-3. I am so ready to dance on their grave if they go 0-3. And listen, I'm not the only one. The NFL, we're going to clip this. The NFL and fans at large, if the Chiefs go 0-3, we're all ready to dance on their graves. Because Chiefs fans, I've said this once and I'll say it again. You guys all feel, and especially most noteworthy fan, feels like there's not enough respect to give into the Kansas City Chiefs. And fine, that may be true, but we've never, as a collective of fans, it's never been kiss the ring. We shit on Brady. People in the 90s shit on the Cowboys. We would shit on, like, we don't like you winning because that means our team's not winning. So yes, if the Chiefs go 0-3, we're all ready to dance on their grave. Trust me. And if you go 0-4 losing to Baltimore the next week, boo, we're going to throw a party. You want to see America come together, man, let the Chiefs be 0-4. We are going to throw a party. Oh, man, with that being said, appreciate you guys, as always. This new time, we're back in the mornings, 4:30 to 6. We will be back here next Monday, and let's see if we're throwing